Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wake Up Wednesday. I'm your host, Jay, and this week we are doing Q&A Coaching Business Week, where I invite a real-life coach to come on and ask a question that feels pressing or really relevant in their coaching business right now. So I'm so excited to introduce you to one of my soul sisters and clients of Mentor Masterclass, Jo Tucker. She is a life coach who works one-on-one with women to inspire change and bold action so they can become happier in their lives. And Joanne has a really important question that she wants to ask today, so I'm going to let her take it away. Go ahead, Jo.
Hey Jay, thanks for having me.
Welcome. Thank you for coming.
No problem. So in the last couple of months, I've been making a lot of headway in my coaching business, as you know, and I've left my job. And right now I'm just struggling with a couple of things. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed with all the things and ideas that I have. How do I make them into programs, and how do I proceed with this coaching business? And then the other part of it is that I'm feeling like I'm really playing to my edges, and the fear is creeping in. So what are some of the ways that you manage that fear when your coaching dreams started to come true?
Thank you, Jo. This is such a great and juicy question. And it's also kind of a funny one because I think we're all just waiting for that moment in our coaching business with some of the things we're hoping that could happen, like for you, leaving your job and actually doing coaching full time. And some of the other milestones we set for ourselves, we think, what could be bad about that? It's so exciting. Start to come true, and you actually start to feel like, oh my goodness, I could really do this, or this is going to require a lot of me. So I totally relate to this question. And there's two things at heart here. There's managing the fear of coming up against our edges and starting, to really own our success and let it happen and continue to happen and grow. And then when we are experiencing that success and we start to get so many creative ideas, it can be really overwhelming to have so much creative flow. And how do you manage that creative flow? Am I hearing your question right?
Yes, that's exactly it.
Awesome. Okay, so let's start with the question of coming up against your edges. So the first thing that appeals to me is it makes me think about our feminine power, coming up against the truth of our feminine power. And I remember that this really became true for me in my last launch, which is just about a year ago, Mentor Masterclass. I finally had created and did all the inner work and outer work to figure out my signature program, to really define my niche, to know who I wanted to work with, had created all the materials, ran it a few times, and I was coming up against a new launch. And then the launch went incredible. We had, I built my list over 3,000 women. I completely sold out the program. I had so much exposure happening where people were finally recognizing me and my program as one of the top life coach training schools. And I was so surprised to find that instead of feeling excited and empowered and like ready to keep thriving, I actually felt like I wanted to hide and pull back. And it was like this experience of, oh, this is too much. And it was kind of disheartening. And then I started fearing, do I have what it takes to actually handle this success? And I remember having a conversation with my friend Nisha. And I told her this. I was like, I am just shocked to see that I'm feeling like I want to hide when I feel like this is the moment I've been waiting for, the time I should be out there celebrating all the hard work I've put in to manifesting this dream and hustling to make it happen. And she told me a story about a conversation that she had actually with Danielle LaPorte, who so many of us admire. And she was talking to Danielle about business creative flow and taking action in her business. And Danielle said, yeah, when I am in action and when I'm launching or when I'm creating something, I feel like a stallion, like I am a horse that is like out there in the field running and empowered and on this mission. And I feel strong and powerful. And Nisha shared with me her personal story was that she felt more like a tortoise. She actually felt like she would go in her shell, then come out and be kind of slow moving with her goals and dreams, and the way that she launched was like a slower process.
Mm-hmm.
And which I was surprised to hear because I look up to Nisha and think tortoise. I've seen you launch things like crazy. And so that was her feeling. And it had me kind of go in, this like animal metaphor of, well, what is my flow? Like, what do I feel like when I'm launching or creating or putting something big out there into the world? And I tuned into the energy of a tiger. It also happens to be my spirit animal, which is just a fun thing to know about yourself. And the way the tiger is the tiger hides in the shade during the day, and then at night it prances and it goes like full hustle into its hunt, and it's fearless and it goes for it, and it's full on attack. And then it after takes time to nourish, sit with the thing that it's the prey, the bait or the meal, and he enjoys it and nourishes itself before it goes back out for something else. And it was really interesting because tuning into this had me think we all have such a unique way of approaching or coming up against our edges or putting ourselves out there in the world. And when we start to get judgmental of ourselves, I think is where we start to want to retract, because we think, oh, it should be this way. I should be feeling this way. I should be handling this way. I should be more confident. The truth is we all have a different way of being in our feminine power. And mine is a little bit that in order to work past my fear to go for a launch, I kind of hibernate, I sit in the shade and I create, and then I just push myself and I go for it, put myself out there. And then after I do that, I need some space to re-nourish myself and to pull back. And it doesn't mean that I'm not handling success right, or that I'm scared, or that it's fear. It actually is just my own way and my own cycle and flow, just like Danielle thinks of it like a stallion and Nisha like a tortoise. So what I would invite you to thinking about your edges is maybe not going into judgment or comparison, but actually tuning into what is your flow. Maybe there's an animal that you relate to that you can start to kind of find. I had to research the tiger, by the way. I kind of looked it up and had to see like, well, I'm thinking it's like a tiger. And then I looked it up and I was like, that's exactly what it is. He's in the shade and then hunting and nourishing. So see if you can find a metaphor that will help you tune in to what your way of approaching your power is, so that you can be in less judgment and more acceptance of what that flow is like, and honoring that flow. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important for when we're approaching success and our expansion.
Definitely. Such an important lesson there.
And then the second part that you're asking is, how do we keep growing through overwhelm? How do we manage when we have all of these creative ideas coming in, and what do we do with that? Mm-hmm. So I think what really helps me in those moments, because sometimes my mission feels so big, what I've really tuned into is this desire to help women who are waking up to their calling to become a life coach. And that can feel really huge sometimes, to be a mentor or a leader at the front of the line, showing women how to do that. And it's easy for us to get overwhelmed when we look too big. And also when there's so many ideas about how we can do that, how we can serve. So I think we have to remember that it's our job to feel into the pace that we're uniquely drawn to, and realize that it's part of our calling. So when I say calling, what is our calling? What does it mean to have a calling? So when I think of my calling, and how I'd like you to think of it, Jo, is it's that thing that we can't stop thinking about. So even if we may think to ourselves, that's crazy, or that's too big, or who am I to think that I could help women through that? I'm still struggling with that myself. But if that thing keeps on coming up, and there's this kind of energy that draws us in, and it becomes an obvious ecology that supports us taking action on this thing. So what I mean is, it's usually the thing that keeps coming up in our personal life that we keep having to work through, that we're so passionate about learning about, that thing that we just keep hearing it in our head. Like maybe for you, you work with women who have to go through immense change and take bold action. So you might find that's your calling, because you continually are being faced with change and you're having to call in that bold part of yourself. So I believe it's our job to surrender to our calling. And it's when we resist it, or we try to speed things up, or we try to do things by force, or we slow down too much from fear, that we get off track or that it becomes overwhelming. So our job is really just to surrender, which means to create the space to hold on to our callings and to listen to the energy that we feel around them, and to create room in our hearts to allow our desires to flow through us and into reality at an organic pace. And what stops us from doing that is the fear that we've never gone so big before, or that we've never been so focused, or we've never had to be so tuned into something that could truly be successful for us. And we assume that we can't handle it because of those thoughts that come up. So we shut down the creative flow and the momentum, and we tell ourselves, not now, I can't do this right now, I need to take more space, I need to pull away. But what you're pulling away from is something you can handle. And all you have to do is breathe into it and create a space of trust and allow it to flow through you, rather than trying to hold on to it. Because what is happening is, this is your creativity. So our job is to say, I have this calling and I can handle it, and I surrender to my calling. And then it is not to try to hold or contain the creative flow. It's allowing it to just come through us. Because it would be like if a flood of water came in and we just tried to wrap ourselves around it and hold it, we would drown. But if we stood tall and firm and said, I got this, and we just let it flow through us, that's when we find our power. So we can't say, go away to our creativity and come back later. It doesn't work that way. So we have to let it come in and hang with it while it's around and enjoy its company, because also we can't really turn on our creativity. We can't just say, okay, I'm ready to be creative. As you may experience, it comes when it comes. So when creative impulse is pulsing through like an open channel, we just want to say, that's right, come on in, I can work with this. And then you want to use your head to find what's important and what you need. But then move your focus from your head and into your gut and your womb space, and let your intuition kind of be your muse. Let it nurture your creative flow. Let it feel comfortable and say, come on in, let me see what's going on here. Okay, there's a lot. Let me be with you. Let me just experience this time with you and let it happen. And not really judging what we can handle or what we should do, but just kind of letting it flow through us. And I'll share a quick example, because this is getting a little esoteric and I want to make sure we ground it in.
Perfect.
When I met my husband, all of a sudden this energy came through when we were dating, and it was like things started moving really fast, and we just fell in love so quickly. And I had this like knowing with him, but I started to judge it. I started to think, this is too fast. This is, if we move too fast, it could go wrong. And we were talking about moving in together after just 3 months of dating. And I was like, this cannot be right. I can't do this. It takes 12 months. I should really take 12 months and really, at least before we talk about moving in together. But my gut and all of our conversations and what felt really right and what the momentum was pulling us to do was to move in together. And really I wasn't young anymore. I'd been in lots of relationships, enough to know what I wanted. So my head had some resources behind it. It wasn't like being 18, the first time I may have made that mistake. But I chose to, instead of leaning into my head and what I thought I should do or what other people think is right, I felt into our creative flow and what was true and happening between us. And I moved in with him and trusted that voice and that instinct. And 10 years later, we're still together, now married, and it was right for us. So I think that's kind of what I'm tuning into with our business, is when you hear that creative calling, when it feels right in your womb space, when you check in with your head and it looks like you're well-resourced enough to truly handle this, you want to go with your flow. And the mantra that I want to call us into or use around this is that it's my job to follow my calling, and I open up to my creative flow. So it's my job to follow my calling. That's how I handle the edges that we're pressing up against. And I open up to my creative flow. That's how we can handle all the ideas, just opening up, letting them come through and filter, and then finding the one that really resonates to take action with. Mm-hmm. So, Jo, I want to hear how this is resonating with you and what you're taking away from all of this today.
Yeah, Jay, I think that the biggest thing that I'm taking away is that I didn't really see how these two things that I'm running up against are connected at all. And you just really painted the picture of how, yeah, they're both rooted in this idea of comparison, you know, and thinking that I need to read the document that's going to give me the answers as to how this is supposed to be. And then everything's going to be perfect again, you know. And so it's been so great hearing how those are both connected, and that what I really need to do is spend some time surrendering, which is so huge, and then allowing my own rhythm, my own way of doing things to come forward. Because right now, yeah, I guess I'm feeling like, oh, but there's got to be some secret, and I don't have what it takes. It comes from that imposter place. So that mantra that you just gave is definitely going up in my workspace. And then I'm also going to do some research on my animal, and so that even when the mantra isn't enough, I can look and be like, okay, we're in this together, whatever that animal is. I'm not sure, but I'm excited to find out what that is.
Oh, I love that, Jo. So actually, I have a request of you and our sisters watching this. So ladies watching, I would love to hear, what is your creative animal flow? And if you can jam on that a little bit in the comment section below this video on the blog. And also, what if this mantra, are you going to take on this mantra, or maybe you have another one that helps you tune into how you can come up against those edges and accept your feminine power while still allowing creativity to flow through you to process all of those amazing ideas you have to take your business to the next level. And Jo, maybe you can come back and meet us in the comment section and let us know what animal you land on.
I would love to. I hope it's better than my spirit animal, which I think is the mole.
Ooh, I'd look there first, though. I'd be interested to see what is the mole's creative way. You know, maybe you'll find something that is kind of cool about the mole.
I think it's the mole or the badger. So I anticipate like I think there's lots of fight and then rest, similar to the tiger. So that feels pretty good for me.
This is so fun. I can't wait to see what you all have to say. So we'll meet you in the comment section on the blog. Jo, thank you so much for this incredible question. I hope this has helped you ladies today. And if you have a question about your coaching business that you'd like to be featured on the show and have answered, please check out the blog and how you can submit to be featured on our Wake Up Wednesday episode. Thank you, sister, for being here, and I can't wait to jam with you on the section comments on the blog, and we'll see you next week.
Do you want to become a confident and masterful life coach? Imagine feeling completely supported by a brilliant sisterhood while you launch your dream business and attain financial freedom. Mentor Masterclass is an all-in life coach training program for 40 women who are on a mission to learn from the best. You can join Mentor Masterclass at the beginning of any new month while spaces are available. Head on over to mentormasterclass.com to learn more about the training and apply now. No matter what outer game you're playing, how aware of you of this game? What? How aware of you